more tangled client side. C-Sharp's got me feeling right. Real-time updates, lightning speed, web assembly, that's all I need. I'm blazing with Blazor, feeling alive. Full stack magic, server side. .NET's got me flying high. Hot reload, I touch the sky. I'm blazing with Blazor, watch me go. Interactive pages, real-time flow. No JavaScript, no delay. C-Sharp's the future, here to stay. Scope styles and raise of pages. One code base through the ages. From the back end to the view. C-Sharp's got my workflow smooth. No need for APIs. Signal law just syncs my life. State is shared, no reload. This is how the future's code. I'm blazing with Blazor, feeling alive. Full stack magic, server side. .NET's got me flying high. Hot reload, I touch the sky. I'm blazing with Blazor, watch me go. Interactive pages, real-time flow. No JavaScript, no delay. C-Sharp's the future, here to stay.
Started out lost in the code. Too many stacks, didn't know where to go. Then I found the one sleek and tight. .NET got me coding alright. From the back end to the cloud, C-Sharp makes me feel so proud. Cross-platform, let's ignite. One framework to rule my life. Built on .NET, running smooth. Enterprise apps are in deep groove. Microservices, APIs, from Blazor pages to AI. It's fast, it's strong, got no regrets. Cloud to desktop, no limits left. One ecosystem, let's go next. I built the future on .NET. EF Core, my queries fly. SQL magic, watch it ride. REST or GraphQL, take your pick. Web APIs that scale up quick. From the back end to the cloud, C-Sharp makes me feel so proud. Cross-platform, let's ignite. One framework to rule my life. Built on .NET, running smooth. Enterprise apps are in deep groove. Microservices, APIs, from Blazor pages to AI. It's fast, it's strong, got no regrets. Cloud to desktop, no limits left. One ecosystem, let's go next. I built the future on .NET. Built on .NET, running smooth. Enterprise apps are in deep groove. Microservices, APIs, from Blazor pages to AI. Built from Measure functions to Maui apps. Machine learning, bots that chat. Hot reload keeps my code intact. One command, I'm shipping fast. No more pain. .NET's the way I run my game. Scalable, reliable, gotta confess. The future's written. .NET is best. Started out with jQuery, stuck in the past, called back spaghetti, man, it couldn't last. Then I found a framework that's sleek and tight. Blazor came in, now my future's bright. No JavaScript, no need to stress. C-Sharp runs it all, no second guess. I write it once, reuse the code. Blazor's got that dev life mode. Code it like a pro, build it nice and fast. Blazor on the front, .NET in the back. Full stack power, no more hacks. Type safe magic, got no cracks. I just hit deploy, watch it flow. Server or client, you already know. No NPM, no more load, just pure C-Sharp, let's go.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Is anybody here? Please show me in the chat if you are with me. And now you should also see me on the screen. That would be really nice. Otherwise, this would be a really cozy session today. I don't see anybody in the chat. Only Auto King. Hey, Auto King. Nice to meet you. All right, I hope you can hear me. I hope you can see me. Nice, yes we can. So for today's session, if you have any questions, whatever it is, just post them in the chat, but I don't know if I can answer them real quick, because the thing for today is I got a request by a client, let's say, and this client is my wife. And maybe you know this already. She writes a newsletter on Substack. And the thing is, since she's married to a developer, she got this idea that when you have a spreadsheet like this thing here, let me make this a bit smaller maybe. There is the option to improve that, right? Spreadsheets are pretty boring. So now what she wants from me is to build an application, a web app, where users can enter their publications. So in essence, it's just a CRUD app, right? And by building this CRUD app, I want to, and I'm really sorry if you hear some noise outside. It's pretty hot in the attic here, so I have to open the windows. Anyways, build a CRUD app, but with a vertical slice architecture, of course, and using .NET and Blazor. And I wanted to use Blazor Server. And if you like, it would be awesome to build this together with you guys. So as you can see, this is the data in the end. I'm already wondering about the category, if we use relationships there or just 2 columns, so category 1, category 2. And some other stuff. Maybe we get some ideas by doing that, and let's just see how far we come. And another thing is that the categories are predefined, as you can see here. So yeah, it's kind of real life, real world, right? So you got a request by your boss, by your client, whatever it is, and then you have to build the application there. And maybe you also use authentication, maybe .NET Identity. I think I would start with .NET Identity, but then just see how it goes. But first focus on building the CRUD stuff. So I opened Visual Studio. There it is. So let's create a new project. And this should be a Blazor web app, I think. And let's call this, I don't know, Blazor publication app maybe. Yeah, it works for me. And we will use .NET 9. Blazor Server is what I would use for now. There will be interactivity, so we will need a form, button, stuff like that. But I think WebAssembly and auto is not really necessary, so let's just stick to server. And regarding authentication, we can already use individual accounts. So we got all the boilerplate stuff for .NET Identity. So let's just hit create. How are you guys? Where are you from? Would be interesting to know, because I'm not sure about the time zones. But actually, lots of people. Hey Jason, nice to see you. Lots of people should be awake actually. And yes, that's totally correct. I don't want to use mediator today. So vertical slice architecture without mediator. Not sure if you heard it already. Jimmy Bogart said that he wants to commercialize his libraries, AutoMapper and mediator. So let's see. Oh, there's a big delay. Ohio, Turkey, US Central. Awesome. So in the US, it's morning, right? Good morning, guys. You have your coffee already? There's mine. But here it is 4 p.m. So in the afternoon, actually. All right. So with this new project, what we got here is already an application DB context. This is because of .NET Identity. As you can see here, it is inheriting from Identity DB context. It is using an application user. Yes, let's just stick to the default stuff for now. And we will use a SQL Server database. So we would have to add... Something happens. Gifted membership. Thank you. Thank you so much. Awesome. So you saw the chat. The Nightbot who said something. This is awesome. Great. Yeah, I'm also playing around. 3rd time live. I'm really happy that we could make this work. My wife took the kids out, so yeah, let's see how much time we got. Anyways, thank you very much for the membership. And what do I want to say? Yeah, we are going to use a SQL Server database. This is what I wanted to do. No local DB here. Well, it is a local database, but SQL Server still. So we can actually already use migrations. And we also see some predefined code, generated code for all the account stuff. But again, I would like to use this later. Then I don't know if we manage to do this today. Of course, while coding and talking reduces the speed, the velocity of implementing stuff. But anyways, first the connection string. For that I have to look this up. I already told you that I don't remember the connection string. Never. I just cannot remember this. So here we got something else. Hopefully in another project. Let's just see. This is not the project. This maybe. Yeah, this looks good. Okay, let's just grab this one and put it here. There it is. So this would be our, let's say, publication DB. And again, no mediator today. This should totally work without mediator. And as you or some of you already said in the comments of other videos, it is not really necessary to use it. So yeah, let's just see. Okay, lots of identity stuff here, but as you can see, we already registered entity framework or the DB context with entity framework. We use the SQL Server as a provider here. By default, we get the connection string. Awesome. And so far, only Blazor server, and I think that's totally enough. But I'm not sure. I think we still have to install the tools. So let's try that. UK. Awesome. Hi, Steve. Greetings to UK. This would be tools, I guess. Entity framework tools. There it is. Already installed. All right. Then maybe it already works. So do we also have the migration? Yeah, we also have migration. So essentially, we should just be able to use update database. So let's see. Build started. Coffee is almost empty. All right, let's open SQL Server Management Studio. Belarus, nice. Okay, let's connect, and we have to ignore some databases from other YouTube tutorials and the .NET Academy, but there's our publication DB. And as you can see so far, lots of tables, but this is all authentication stuff, right? Identity stuff. We want to use or add one entity so far. If you haven't seen it already, request is to turn this spreadsheet into a web application. So we got name, substack URL, notes URL, and so on. And yeah, let's just do that. And just a question for you. I know the latency is big or the delay is big, but would you like me to use GPT as well? Because we can totally make use of GPT for that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know, selecting the columns and telling GPT to build a C# class for that. Or later, what I will definitely use is for the inserts, because we have, I think, 300 rows, something like that. Yeah, over 300 rows entries here. So we can, for instance, ask GPT to create the insert statements for the data. So this is some stuff that would definitely help. But anyways, we can also do this manually. So let's change the project. There it is. All right. In the Solution Explorer, and I get a couple notifications here. Let's create the entities first, maybe. Nope, not this one. New folder, entities it is. And let's also add a new item. So this would then be our publication, let's say. First thing, we need the ID, and I know you want to use a GUID for the ID, like that. Greetings to Czech Republic. And now I need to open the spreadsheet on another screen. Otherwise, that's really tedious. All right. So we got a string for the name. Like that. Another string. I think everything here are strings. Subscribers count as an integer then. Alright, notes URL. First the Substack URL. Alright, string empty. An import service for the spreadsheet or a CSV file then, you mean? By the way, what's your opinion about using GPT for some stuff, or Copilot? Copilot anyways, if you installed it, which is free now, you will see that Copilot will suggest lots of stuff. Also an option definitely shown, so maybe we can do this later. But I think we will have a lot to do first with all the CRUD operations. So what I got so far, subscribers, subscriber count, subscribers, it is get set, and then category 1 and 2 would be next. I'm really not sure if we should use a relationship there, because the requirement is in Substack you can only have 2 categories, so there's really a constraint for your publication. So that's the question now, right? Should you really just implement what the requirement is so far, or should you already implement for changes? In my opinion, it's most of the time first the requirements, and then if change requests come, then you open up your application and make it more generic. So in that case, this would really mean that you would have a category 1 and then a category 2 as well. But what do you guys think? If you, for now, really only can use 2 categories, should we use a relationship already, another entity? Ah, you mean GPT? Maybe not use GPT for a list of real people? Sure. And Sean, you say, as long as developers remember to thoroughly review the code suggestions before assuming that the output is accurate. That's, I think, how should I say this? I just assume that everybody should, or thinks that, right? We don't want to vibe code and just copy and paste, but really look what GPT or Copilot is generating. So, okay, now we got an about. And of course, if you like, you can also ask questions. Can't promise anything. Let's just call this about. I think this totally makes sense. String empty equals string empty. Ah, there's an about writer. Okay, I see. So that would be another property, string about writer, which is an empty string, and about publication. And that's it. All right, awesome. So ID, name, Substack URL, notes URL, subscribers, category 1, category 2, about publication, and about writer. Is there anything else? Yes, make a relation because it'll come. Ah, it'll come anyways. I'm not sure about that. Maybe we can change that, all right? Would be interesting to see how we change the whole application then maybe. So now we leave it at that, and then when the change request comes, then we add the relationship. So we got our entity so far. And now in the application DB context, let's add the DB sets for this thing. There it is. DB set of publication. All right. call this publications, like that. Hope this works. All right, let's see. Add migration, edit publication entity. Yeah, I think Chris asking, it's like minor, but why string empty instead of, well, just quotation marks? I thought that would compile to the same code. In the end, I think you're totally correct. So why not also use string empty? It's personal taste in the end, I guess. I am, in that case, actually, I'm always wondering or asking myself, should you use string empty, quotation marks, or where is it? There it is. Or leave it empty and then make it required sometimes, or nullable, right? So what we could also actually use or make all these nullable as well. Thing is, then in that case, your whole application and error handling changes in that way, right? So you have to check for null every time and then change the behavior. Here we can just check for an empty string. I think empty strings make sense here because well, we could at least actually make the name required, because this is something that you should enter maybe. So regarding validations and stuff, maybe this would totally make sense. But then regarding the URLs and the categories, maybe this is something you want to add later. So, you know, it's not that, well, let's say not that this application isn't something for a big corporation that needs to be absolutely perfect. And in particular, in the beginning, I think it's okay to use it that way. We can always change it. We don't have, or we won't add data for this stage of the application that cannot be lost. We have all the data. We can, or we can actually make a backup and then change everything. Maybe because what I'm aiming for is when we, for instance, add the relationships, or when we add the name and make it required, then it could be the case that with another migration or with updating the database, then the table definitions, then that entry framework or SQL Server, whatever, says, well, be careful, could lead to a loss of data. And in that case, this wouldn't be that bad. We can always get the data back. But then again, later, definitely, when we say we use this app then for production, we deploy it to Azure and stuff, then absolutely we should make sure that we know what the requirements are. But for now, the only requirements I have are a spreadsheet and some categories. So we can really, this is just a playground for us. Actually really great for a developer, I think, because you can do whatever you want to do. And there are no hard requirements. And by telling you this, can you tell me what are your experiences actually regarding requirements at work or when you're a contractor, freelancer? That would be really interesting. Do you get documents where your client or your, I don't know what you build, if you build line of business applications, internal applications maybe, then it's often the case that you get a call, maybe you get a meeting where your client then says, well, I got this idea, I would love to have an app that can do this and that, but you don't have a document. If you're lucky, you get an email that summarizes the requirements. Otherwise, you really have to write them down. And of course, this might turn out really, really bad, because in the end, changes are coming and you didn't understand 100% what the client wants, and the client actually doesn't really know what he or she wants either. So yeah, fun times. But it would be interesting to know what your experience is. Do you get the perfect requirements, documents, or is it similar to my experience? So anyways, we got, I think, a new migration file. Where is it? It was already open, right? There it is, publications. But I did not update the database. There it is. Okay. Let's see. Refresh tables, and there it is. So we have names, Substack URL, notes URL, subscribers, category 1 and 2, about publication and about writer. Awesome. Actually, what I forgot is some kind of dates. This would be also pretty handy, I guess, but let's just keep it like that. Okay, now regarding vertical slice, I think we can already add the CRUD operations, so it's getting more interesting. So what we can do now is actually create our features folder. So add a new folder and call this features. And the first thing maybe gets the publications. Yeah. So I want to actually add a folder now, because the thing is, in my other tutorials, what I did for the API was using just one new file, right? So one file, one static class where we put everything. We put the request object there, response object, and depending what we are using, if we need an API, then also the endpoint there, man. I was reading while thinking, because Chris says, oh man, I wish I would get actual documents. So what I typically get is something like, I need a new button. I totally feel you. Yeah, that's totally my experience too. What did I want to say? So one file where we have the request, response, and a handler for the logic, and then maybe an endpoint. But now the big difference here is that we want to actually build a Blazor application. So we have backend and frontend in one project in the end, right? Because Blazor server. So what you can also do then with vertical slice, and I'm still exploring vertical slice. So this is, I don't know if this is really the best practice here, but so far what I think is what you can do is you can now rather create a folder. So for instance, we say get publications, right? And in this folder now, I hope you see this, yeah. And in this folder now, we can create a C# class for all the logic, meaning, well, we don't really have a request object in that case, but for a handler method, maybe for an endpoint if you have an API. But in this particular application, what we will only need actually is a response object, DTO, stuff like that, and also some kind of handling method that will then inject the DB context and, well, just grab all the publications, right? But the thing is, we also need some front-end stuff. And now it's getting interesting, because where do you put this? Because with Blazor, what you already see here in the components folder, we have also a pages folder. And here we have a home folder, a weather folder for all the example stuff. But we will, I think, create another page called publications, right? So this page would fit in right there. But then we need another component, or we should maybe create another component that actually grabs the publications, right? That fetches the data from the database. And in that case, what's the right place? Is it in the pages folder here? Is it in the components and we add another features folder under components, or put this here? Because vertical slice, in theory, the big advantage is that you would say, okay, everything that is necessary for this particular feature is close together, right? Cohesion high, so everything that belongs together is close together. Would be interesting to know what you guys think. So put the page here and then a component like the grid, for instance, the data grid, inside the features folder then, or would you rather put everything into components? So really split like the backend logic, put the backend logic here in the features folder, and then only the front-end stuff in the components folder. What do you guys think? Tell me please in the chats. And I will try to talk and implement at the same time. So let's see. Yeah, Sean says it. The button has to look cool or cooler. So you got your change request then. All right, get publications. So this then will be a static class. And now comes the fun stuff. because before what I did was using mediator. Now mediator isn't really necessary, but what we get with mediator is also some kind of structure, right? Because you implement the iRequest interface, and this then means, or the request handler interface, this then means you have to implement a handle method, so you have the structure, but of course you can also build the structure without a mediator. So let's just try that. And create maybe another class now, and this time, okay, this is Copilot in action, but again, we don't want to use the iRequest and iRequest handler interfaces. They come from mediator. But what I would like to do is at least use a handler class now, but this wouldn't implement any interface, just inject the context actually, and then grab all the publications from the context. So public, Jesus, what was that? Okay, public class handler it is. Okay, Copilot is confusing me a little. But we already inject the application db context, call this context, like that. All right. And now here we got, oh, there's a reply, backend logic and folder features, front-end components. Okay, 1 vote for splitting stuff. So actually we didn't need the folder, right? We could also put everything under features, or under features. Actually, I forgot something, I guess. Should be then features publications. Let's move that real quick. Publications, move that here. Yep, yes. Namespace is different now as well. And here now let's create a method. So public async task lists of publications, or publication, call this handle, and now here we simply return context publications to list async. Or if you want to use a DTO, then we need something else. But so far, well, let's just use another class. So record response, and we got the, yep, this is nice. All right, so this was the Copilot suggestion. I think this works. ID name and everything. And again, maybe this changes in the future. So regarding the entity, maybe we add some dates, stuff like that, delete it, I don't know. We will also need, that's true, we will definitely later also need the relationship or the connection to the user actually. So, but again, let's see how far we come, because we already, I don't know, how long is this live stream already going? 30 minutes. It didn't do much so far. All right. Chris says, if you were using something like Dapper, would you inject the IDB context or connection string instead of the application DB context? Not sure if I got the question. Would you inject the IDB context or connection string instead of the application DB context? I got a tutorial for that, actually. I can show you that, I think. Let me see. Real quick. I think this is it. So here, let's have a quick look. Endpoints, models, we have a video games controller. And here, what I'm doing is I use a repository, inject this thing, and then here we use a SQL connection. So yeah, that's what I was thinking. We grab the connection string from iConfiguration. So again, also the app settings file, app settings JSON file. So we inject the iConfiguration, which is again the apps or the data of the app settings file, let's say, and there you get your connection string from. And then you do everything else, right? So here in this case for Dapper, you need a SQL connection, open it, and then maybe use begin transaction, and it's not always necessary, I think, to use open async. Not using Dapper a lot. So here's this, there it is. This is different. There, what we do is also create the connection. You don't have to explicitly open it. You only have to do this when you also use begin transaction. But otherwise, you just use the SQL connection with using, and then run your queries, whatever you want to do. I hope this answers your question. All right, let me just close this real quick. Ah, these are hard questions, Chris. I can understand that with a repo pattern, with a repository pattern, but with vertical slice architecture, you wouldn't have a repository, would you? Well, you can, but the idea is, that's 100% correct, to not use repositories or services. Still, you can do that if you want to use shared code, but yeah, for this specific case, what you would still do is then here you would, or I think my first idea would be to inject the iConfiguration and again use the SQL connection and then do all your logic in here. So yeah, I think the only thing you would inject is the configuration, so you get your connection string. Or for that particular case, then again, vertical slice, haven't explored it that much, but maybe it makes sense to use some service for that to just get the connection string from that service, or some common code, let's say. Yeah, that's true. Sean says with Entity Framework Core, you are technically already using a repository pattern, just not explicitly. And yeah, iConfiguration makes sense. All right, you're welcome. Hope this answers the question. Okay, so now we got not a lot here actually, right? So let me have a look. All right, so instead of returning all the publications, what you can do is use select now to turn these into the response object, or we use Mapster for that. So let me install Mapster real quick. Mapster mapper it is. Install it. Did it work? Yeah. Okay. I know here what we can say, let's say var publications is await, and then return publications, and then we have to change the return object here to response actually. Adapt to response. All right, we need a list. Okay, this should work, right? Get notifications again. All right, everything seems to be fine. So now Blazor. Okay, let's just create first, or maybe we can do this in the home page here. And now you guys, okay, components, or do it right here. You say components, and then a feature folder under components, or what's your suggestion? Or directly maybe publications. Not sure about that. When you don't reply or you don't say what you want, I will put it here under get publications. I'm not sure how big the delay is, but then here I would create this eraser component. All right. Publications overview, maybe like that, and this will be, should we use quick grid maybe? I think we have to install quick grid first. Well, we can first just use it for each maybe. So no response tends to mean lurking and working. Are you guys working right now? And the live chat is just running on the side. Thank you very much for subscribing, Michael. All right. Sean asks, how often do you put the code in a code behind instead of the standard code block? I am. Hi, Joseph. I am about to clock off though. Oh, okay. That's sad, Chris. But maybe, I don't know, how long do you have to commute, or are you working from home? I don't know. Regarding code behind, never, actually. Rarely I do that. I'm like, I'm one of these people who use the code and the markup in the same file. So, yeah. What did I want to do? We need a list, right? A list of publication. No, wait. Static class. It is get publications response. All right. I prefer the code block, says Joseph. I don't like the code behind. Yes, me too. I am one. Yeah, was in response to. Yeah, I got it. So Sean also at work. Okay. And now comes the interesting part, because we have no mediator, so we have no iSender to inject. We have no API. We just want, in essence, call the handle method and then see if this already works. So with on initialization, let's say, protected override on initialized async, and here now we say our publications are await, and then we need the handler. So let's no mediator copilot. So let's inject the handler at inject get publications handler. Call this handler already, and handler then handle with, actually don't have a request, so just handle like that. And maybe we should rename this to handle async. Okay, I think this should work. And now add for each publication and publications. We add a table, maybe table header th, nope, table header, what is this? Nope, this is what I want. Isn't it th? T body TR TD. What's wrong here? Jesus, long time ago I created tables with HTML. Let's just see what the result is. Or you can already tell me what I did wrong. Mr. MD prefers code behind, alright. So let's say the name and all the other stuff. Something's not correct here. And I have to open up the spreadsheet again. Ah, thank you. All right, that's it. Thanks. Where's the spreadsheet? Yep. What's the name? Pencator says hi. Hi. I hate when Visual Studio does that thing with tags. What just happened, right? I do too. I want to write a simple tag and it will always put a custom one. Yeah, and I still did not learn to just press escape, because when you press escape then you can do whatever you want, but you know, you continue typing, you press tab or return, whatever it is, and then Visual Studio thinks its idea is the correct one, but it not always is. Okay, let's just say Substack URL. Then we have the notes URL. And then subscribers. And then here category 1 and category 2. Then we got about publication and about a writer. IntelliSense doesn't make sense, Sean says. Well, sometimes it doesn't, it's true. But you know, the thing is that now we got more than IntelliSense. It started with IntelliSense, then we got IntelliCode, and now it seems to be Copilot when it's active. And same thing, as you maybe saw a couple minutes ago, it's sometimes really confusing because you type something and Visual Studio scrolls to another position. You press escape, but then Copilot thinks, nope, I'm right here. You have to use what I want to write here, and so on. All right, now here we got publication. Name, publication, Jesus, name. Okay. Oh, come on. By the way, this is not right here, what I'm doing. Why didn't you tell me? I sometimes say this in the videos, in the tutorials, but now we are live, so you could have told me that this is not correct. So let's surround the for each with this, like that. Okay, hopefully formatting works. So now we got a table. Now it makes more sense. Table and the for each only for one publication. Mohamed, thank you very much. He says, just wanted to say I love your videos. I discovered your channel because I wanted to learn .NET coming from Laravel. All right. Never touched Laravel. But I do feel like Laravel has better and simpler syntax than .NET. You need to wrap the for each loop around the t-body. Yeah, I know. So, same idea. .NET, you mean C#? To be more precise. Has worse syntax. Laravel, for example, Laravel relationships. It's so easy with belongs to, has many, but with .NET it's not that visible. Something with Laravel observers I can't find in .NET equivalent. Well, actually, you can... Do you mean when you describe your relationships, for instance? Yeah, PHP. Oh gosh, decades ago, I did something with PHP. Like has many and belongs to. You actually get something similar with .NET and Entity Framework. So if you want to describe your relationships, you can do that in the DB context. But lots of that stuff already works implicitly, meaning you don't really have to write this. Like has many, you just get your like your entities. Here we have the publication, for instance. And when I now say regarding the application user, we're already inheriting from identity user, but we could now here, for instance, add a list of publications, right? And this, with that, then we have our one-to-many relationship. So one user can have many publications. Greetings to the Philippines. Awesome. Yeah, Entity Framework has many, owns many. Exactly, same stuff. Said asks, hi Patrick. Hi there. Hope you have a good stream. Thank you. Let's see. Have you ever uploaded a Blazor WebAssembly application to a host? Yeah, to Azure. And have you ever looked at the size of the application that needs to be downloaded to the end user's browser? It's huge. Is it really? Are you talking about release here, this thing, using the release version, or really just debug version? Because debug, yeah, debug is big, but this should change with release. And mobile browsers, it usually crashes, and if the project is a bit complex, it can reach up to 45 megabytes. This problem exists even when you use run ahead of time compilation and publish trimmed scripts. Not sure about that. You know, the thing is with, or since .NET 8 and the render modes let's, from another perspective. Before .NET 8, I loved Blazor WebAssembly. I loved the SPA approach, single page application, right? So the typical approach, similar to the other JavaScript frameworks like Angular, React, and so on. When you have this stack, JavaScript framework and .NET for the backend, then usually you would have, for instance, a .NET Web API in the backend, some kind of database, doesn't really matter what it is, and then the JavaScript framework like Angular and so on for the front end. And when they officially released Blazor WebAssembly 2019, 2020 maybe, then it was just awesome to use C# and .NET for the front end as well with this SPA structure, right? SPA architecture, because before we had something similar with Blazor Server, but I don't know, the world wanted this typical SPA architecture. And now, and it was great in my opinion. Yes, it was big, but it worked, and I never wanted to go back to JavaScript, honestly. But then, I don't know, the world now turns to go back to the 90s, let's say, or the early 2000s, where we have static server-side rendering and Blazor Server maybe. Well, static server-side rendering is like the early days, let's say, where you get the complete HTML downloaded to the client already. And now, since .NET 8, with the render modes, you can already do so much with just that. So please, I don't know what application you're talking about, but you can already do so many stuff with static server-side rendering alone. Let me show you that in the last stream already. But when, for instance, just look, and this is really not a plug, but when you just look at this page, right, .NET Web Academy, completely done with Blazor static server-side rendering. Not sure if the Webalizer knows this. We have no technologies used here. All right. Oh, now we got something. Micro Clarity is here. Okay. Ruby. That's absolutely not correct. All right. So no, I don't use Ruby on Rails for that. I don't know what this is, But, and Thinkific is also not true. Jesus. This extension does not work at all. The only thing that's true here is ASP.NET, correct? Tailwind, ConvertKit, yep. And Kestrel as web server is also correct. But the rest, Jesus. So you have to trust me. I can also show you the code if you want. But this is done with Blazor WebAssembly, Blazor static server-side rendering. And this is my wife calling. I'm right back. Give me just a sec.
I used to fight with JavaScript, so many bugs my code was flipped. But then I found a better way. Blazor came and saved my day. No more tangled client-side, C#'s got me feeling right. Real-time updates, lightning speed, WebAssembly, that's all I need. I'm blazing with Blazor, feeling alive. Full stack magic, server-side. .NET's got me flying high. Hot reload, I touch the sky. I'm blazing with Blazor, watch me go. Interactive pages, real-time flow. No JavaScript, no delay. C#'s the future, here to stay. Scopes, styles, and razor pages. One code base through the ages. From the back end to the view. C#'s got my workflow smooth. No more tangled client-side. C#'s got me feeling right. Real-time updates, lightning speed, WebAssembly, that's all I need. I'm blazing with Blazor, feeling alive. Full stack magic, server-side. .NET's got me flying high. Hot reload, I touch the sky. I'm blazing with Blazor, watch me go. Interactive pages, real-time flow. No JavaScript, no delay. C#'s the future, here to stay. From WebAssembly to the cloud, Blazor's got me feeling proud. I deploy with just one click. Azure's making dreams real quick. So if you're tired of JavaScript's fight, join the Blazor way of life. Full stack magic, feel the glow. .NET power, let's go. I'm blazing with Blazor, feeling alive. Full stack magic, server-side. .NET's got me flying high. Hot reload, I touch the sky. I'm blazing with Blazor, watch me go. Interactive pages, real-time flow. No JavaScript, no delay. C#'s the future, here to stay.
Started out with jQuery, stuck in the past. Callbacks forgetting that it couldn't last. Then I found a framework that's sleek and tight. Blazor came and now my future's bright. No JavaScript, no need to stress. C# runs it all, no second guess. I write it once, reuse the code. Blazor's got that dev life mode. Coding like a pro, building nice and fast. Blazor on the front, .NET in the back. Full stack power, no more hacks. Type safe magic, got no cracks. I just hit deploy, watch it flow. Server or client, you already know. No NPM, no more woe. Just pure C#, let's go. Minimal APIs, backend's clean. Data flows like a dream machine. Signal R's got real-time moves. Sync it up and watch it groove. No JavaScript, no need to stress. C# runs it all, no second guess. I write it once, reuse the code.
All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. You had some questions. Copy the list items you've already written. Replace the th with td and add the publication to each row. Your question above. No, I didn't really see it. Multiple DB contexts. Yeah, you can have multiple DB contexts. It's true. Programming says and inject the relevant context to the service class component. Jesus, what's going on today? And then so you see some separation when you want to use read-write context or some optimization. Yeah. Large-scale app with many tables and many relationships, so it would be a massive file to go through. if you're still referring to multiple contexts, well, what you sometimes see is that you got one database for users only, for instance, and then another for the application. So definitely not what we are doing here for that small app. And yeah, so yeah, you can do that. I think you guys already answered the question, I hope. Awesome. Okay, I have no idea where we've been, but anyways, yeah, this is what I wanted to do. So let's just add the other stuff: Substack URL, and then a notes URL. Category 1, category 2. About publication, and the last one is about a writer. All right, I think that's it. And now in our homepage here, we now show the publication. Okay, again, publications overview, like that. But let me put this in the imports. Okay. Let's just try that. Everything is going on. Okay. What's the issue? There it is. Can provide a value for property handler. This, yeah, we have to inject it. Or what did I miss? Okay, guys, now I'm asking you. We have get publications. We have publications overview. We try to inject this thing here. And maybe add scoped, get publications handler. There it is. Okay, so beautiful. Now let's add some data. So here, publications at the top 200 rows. But I gotta say, this is something that I don't really like, that we have to add the service there, because with mediator this was not the case. We would just add mediator and that's it. And now for every handler that we are going to build, we have to add it to the program CS. So there's gotta be a better solution. But let's see. Okay, so for the name, got this. I'm just copy pasting from a spreadsheet here now. All right, subscribers, category 1, category 2, and then this and that. Maybe this is also null, and we need a GUID. So let's generate one real quick. There it is. So here now we got one entry, and there's our data. But about publication and about writer does not really work. There's something wrong. Blazor publication. Let's see. Okay, and here subscribers, notes URL. No, wait. Substack URL. Missed something. Name, Substack URL, notes, subscribers. Okay. Let's try that again. Okay. Nice. Works. Middleware, yeah, that's the way, right? So, and Nitin says, with Mediator you could specify an assembly with all handlers and it would register everything that is in a handler. Yeah, and we would now have to build something similar by ourselves, right? So this would be something for the future. But I got the call, so I don't have that much time. So maybe what we can do instead, real quick, is just creating the publication and then also add the form. But I'm not sure if we can do that in, I don't know, half an hour maybe. Let's just see. So back to Visual Studio. And now here, let's just say create publication as another feature. Create publication it is. We add another file. Create publication. Like that. And this time we have a record. Services admin. Yeah, I know, but we wanted to not use Mediator this time. So again, we would have to build something by ourselves. Yeah. Okay. But thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, create publication. So now we need a request object. So public record, and this is a static class. Requests, and yep, there was the suggestion. So name, Substack URL, everything in essence. And now next thing is the handler. And this is crazy. This is what I like about Copilot, really, that it learns really, really quick. So we have the handler with the context and the method there, and it really says, okay, create a new publication, add it, and save the changes. All right. Okay. And should we return something? I don't know. Yeah, maybe simply. Not sure. If we have a form, should we return the complete object or just like true it worked or didn't? Yeah, definitely the concept we can use, definitely. You could set up dependency injection using reflection or something, but for this small of a project, doesn't really make sense, to be honest. Yeah, that's true. We're here to learn something. I think if you want to continue this, and please tell me if you want to have this as a series and see how this thing works out, then I think I will prepare something so we're a bit faster with that stuff, because I'm now learning that streaming live, looking at the chat, getting a call, and doing everything together sometimes can be a bit hard. And it's hard to focus then on the code. And if I have some notes here and prepared something, then maybe this would work out a bit better. So yeah, but again, please tell me if you want to see a series out of that, and even if you cannot join the live stream, then I would upload or publish the replay, and then you could see how this app turned out in the end. And of course, you can also get the code then. So just a thumbs up if you want to see more of this application, because in the end it's vertical slice with Blazor and .NET, but without mediator. This is the big requirement now for this application in the end. All right, so this is a question: series, yes or no? And the other one, what should we return? The object that was created. Well, let's just create or use the object then, but this time then with an ID. So GUID ID, and this is our response. And then here we what? Optionally, you can return the created publication as a response. Yeah. Okay. And now, Copilot, is it returning the new response? Publication adapts response, like that. And add the response here as well. All right. Thumbs up. Thank you, Sean. Muhammad says, I think YouTube already shows live streams you missed. Could be wrong. Yeah, if you as the creator say, please publish it, but you don't have to. So I don't have to publish this. I could say, nope, if you missed the live stream, that's it. You cannot watch it again, but I can, of course, publish it, and I do that. I publish the replay usually right away, or that's my plan in the end, in essence. But okay, so that's everything, I guess, for our create publication feature. And now it is getting more complicated regarding the form. So here now, we add a new Razor component, create publication form, maybe. Add this. And here now, this is interesting because I would use the form, well, in the end, for the I'll use this component for the form and create a publication, but then create a page, like create publication page, where we use this form then. So the logic of creating a publication, the feature, the cohesion again is high because we have all the logic in here in this folder, but only the wrapper, let's say, the surrounding part, the page, would then be here in the pages folder. That's at least my idea. What do you think? Would you put everything up here? I know you said it already, but maybe now you got new ideas since you saw how this could work out here with get publications and now with create. Would be interesting to know what you guys think. Maybe you can switch the tab and write a reply. I know you're working, but maybe you got the time to write a reply. That would be nice. Thank you very much. So I need a form, an edit form it is. And I'm just looking for the categories as well, but because this is the only notes that I got so far. But yeah, okay. So for the edit form, what we need is, again, similar to the get publications. Where is it now? No, publications overview. We need a model. not a list of publications, but one single publication. Mirik says, hi, I'm late. I was on a live last night. Just a quick one. Yeah, that was actually a mistake. I went live for just a minute. I wanted to test something. And when you go live on YouTube, you can select if you want to go live publicly or private or unlisted. And by mistake, it was public. But anyway, wasn't long, just 1 minute. Hey Patrick, love your content. Thank you very much. Thanks for the work you put in. You're welcome. Do you have a fixed streaming schedule? No, not yet. I am discussing it with my wife because she's also a creator and she usually goes live or has live boot camps, but she's using Zoom for these closed boot camps, let's say. And usually she streams in the evenings at 8 here in Germany. But this is also, I know that this is the time that you want to see my live streams, so we have to discuss this. We have to talk about that. And maybe, currently I'm thinking about Wednesdays or Thursdays. Could be Thursdays. So once a week at least on Thursday evening, 8 p.m. Germany time. You tell me what's the best time for you. Sean says, maintain consistency because of my question earlier. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's true. You don't want to go one way for one feature and another for a different one. Yeah, I like this approach. But again, not a lot of experience with vertical slice architecture so far. I think this could work, that you have the, I don't know how to call this. You have the components that use the logic of one feature in one folder here in the features folder, and then use the wrappers that are using or that want to use a feature on a page and present it on a page, then use this or add this page then here. I wouldn't put the page in here because what I had already in another project was that definitely there are cases where one page needs more features, right? So I don't know, in this case, maybe we want to get all publications, but then we also have a feature searching for a publication. So in that case, you would have maybe different folders, maybe different files, I don't know. Something is there and you need one surrounding page that uses more of these features. So in this case, I thought this architecture could work. But again, guys, you tell me what do you think? What I'm building, the request came from my wife, so she is the client, and I have to search for the right browser window here. Where is it now? Nope, that's not it. That's not it. That's the one. This is our request. She has a spreadsheet, this thing here, where people can just enter their Substack publication, so a newsletter in the end with some data. And well, since she knows that I'm a developer and I sometimes do web development, also game development sometimes, but currently mostly web development, yeah, she had this request to turn the spreadsheet into a web application. So a simple CRUD application with predefined categories, and then also use authentication and stuff. So you see there are some people here entering their publications, but it would be, I think, a bit better if we could turn this into a more or less beautiful web application. So this is the application we are building, and I thought this is a great opportunity to play around with vertical slice architecture. Okay, so, and I don't know how much time I have left because my wife took the kids out, and I think there's not a lot of time left. But anyways, we need a model for our edit form, and this is our request in the end. So the create publication request here. Thing is, now I called this request, and I'm currently thinking if we should use the terms command and query, command and query. So using CQRS here, not really sure, because usually when I use CQRS, for instance in clean architecture or in the other videos, I do it together with mediator. So now it's thinking a bit differently, because of course they usually you use both, but CQRS in the end is just a way of let's say a way of thinking and maybe naming your classes or your records, and then stick to the rules of CQRS, meaning that you really say, okay, this is a command, this can change something in the database. That's what CQRS in the end is all about, right? So you differentiate between query and command. Query is only like this thing here, receiving all the data from a publication, receiving all the data from a database, in this case just publications. And as you can see here, we have no query object. It would be empty in the end, because what we do here in the end is just selecting them. But again, when you want to use CQRS together with mediator, you would use all right, thank you, Muhammad. You would use a query object implementing an iRequest interface. Maybe it sounds complicated, but it's not really. But I just realized that the thinking has to change when you're not using mediator together with CQRS and all that stuff, and you don't have the mediator or sender object. So yeah, it's new. I said in the beginning, I did not really prepare anything. So yeah, maybe a confusing stream this time. But anyways, so this would be a query. And here now in the create publication, this is actually a command, because we change something in the database. We add something there. That's not too bad. But when you update or delete something, that could turn out really bad. So you as the developer, you really have to pay attention here. And if you use a query, then you shouldn't, I don't know, update a value there, right? So I don't know, when you for instance get a publication, get all publications, and you then change with the same request, with the same query, change the login date of that user or the request date, I don't know what you want to do with that. Shouldn't do that. These are two different things, right? So you would have, or you would write a query to get all publications, and then if you would want to also update a log in the database, or I don't know, login information or tracking information, what did the user do, and you store this in the database, then this would be a separate command. So this is, well, CQRS, or queries and commands in a nutshell. I completed a few days ago clean architecture course. Awesome. Would Blazing Block be a good example to learn vertical slice architecture? Is there anything I should watch out for? So Mirek is talking about the .NET Web Academy. Thank you very much for being a member of the .NET Web Academy. And we could refactor this whole thing, definitely. We could do that. And I am already working on a vertical slice architecture masterclass. And for that, we could use Blazing Block. So it's a block application for all the others, where we use clean architecture with all the layers, different projects and stuff. And I recorded an update, so there's an update coming soon regarding minimal API. But anyways, regarding vertical slice architecture, well, a lot changes there, right? So clean architecture, hope you don't hear this, some children are crying outside. So, but they are not mine, they sound differently. With clean architecture, you have, now there are the motorcycles. With clean architecture, you have all the different projects, right? So the projects for the layers. Now with vertical slice, you could still do that, I guess, but you actually don't. What you want is, and you can see this here with our classes here, they are really, really small, right? 30 lines, not more, for getting all publications. Now regarding create publications, well, we could make one-liners out of these records here, but again, just 50 lines and that's it. If you add an endpoint there, then maybe you get 5 lines more. That's it. And the beautiful stuff here is that you have everything together at this one place. So the so-called cohesion is very high. Everything that belongs together is together in one folder or even one file. Regarding clean architecture, this is different. It is spread over the layers, right? So this is what you should watch out for. And again, I am working on another course regarding specifically vertical architecture with .NET, Blazor and stuff. But this will probably be a learning platform, so similar to Udemy or Teachable, stuff like that. This is what I want to do, but it's really early stage currently. So yeah. Sean says, what I'm seeing for project layout is that the pages folder is eliminated. And where would you put the pages then? Joseph says, I have found that Blazor WebAssembly as the best part of Blazor. The others have oddities that make .NET look bad to React and Angular devs. Why? I need details. Please elaborate. Thank you, Christian, for your comment. I am not. I'm definitely not. There's so much stuff I don't know. Still don't know. So, where were we? Create publication form, I think. So let's add an edit form now real quick. Edit form it is. All right, and move this to the imports. There it is. Oh, you already have it actually. Why is it not working then? Edit form. Okay. Well, anyways, this works. Now our model. We have create publication form request. Is it actually? Is it static? Create publication. Not form. Jesus. Create publication request. This is our request. Again, you tell me. Should I call this command, or what should I call this? And it's not the request. Jesus, I'm confused. It's the response. This is our model actually. So this is our publication. And this is actually a property. Publication. Get set like that. Let's call this simply publication model, shall we? And this is a new one like that. Let's make this null at the beginning. Yeah, I think this works. Simon is the correct name, I hope. Do you think Blazor will be useful in 2025 and later? Yes, absolutely. I do think that Blazor will be useful, and I do think that it will improve and get better. I even think that it's great with the render modes, because earlier I said that the, for instance, the .NET Web Academy website is completely done with static server-side rendering. That was something I wanted to talk about earlier, and then I got the call. Because the great thing there is, I also made a video about that with, when you start with static server-side rendering, right, there is no render mode, right? And you can do a lot already. You can even use buttons if you want to. You just use an old school HTML form. So this is what you can do, for instance. But usually what you want to do with buttons is often, I think, on landing pages and stuff, in the end, it's just a link. Or if you want to add a form, stuff like that, then you want to embed it anyways. And for that, you would use teeny tiny bit of JavaScript. Then there's also HTMX. never tried it before. I should definitely do it. So with that, you can also use CRUD operations there, for instance. But if you need more logic, then you can go, let's say, further down and use Blazor Server or Blazor WebAssembly if you want to or need to. And it really depends on the application you are building. If you're building something public, so a SaaS application, for instance, right? Software as a service application, you can read it on Reddit that people use Blazor, even Blazor WebAssembly, for their SaaS application. What the pronunciation in English? SaaS, I don't know. Software as a service apps, and it seems to work. They make money with that stuff. And in our case, it's more like line of business applications. And in that case, there are not a lot of users, so Blazor Server is totally enough. It works. Performance is great for that stuff that we are doing. But regarding WebAssembly or maybe the auto render mode, then of course you can also download the data, the files there, and then it is the old school SPA architecture in that case. So you have so many options, so many possibilities, and you just need to know .NET and C# and of course HTML and stuff that you should also, or that you also need to know when you're using the JavaScript framework. So I'm totally with Blazor. I love it. Hi, a lot of vertical slice architecture demos are very direct without any abstractions such as interfaces or repositories. Do you find that vertical slice architecture tends to make apps less testable? Honestly, I don't know. Also a great opportunity for another video. But so far I can only say regarding repositories, that's maybe why people use vertical slice architecture. When you just look for talks by Jimmy Bogart, who he didn't really invent it, but he talks a lot since 2018, I think, about vertical slice architecture. And there he also says that let's say the usual approach is to use services and repositories. And you can, one of my last videos, I think 3 weeks ago, I actually show this. We start with a service approach, use services, repositories and stuff for implementing features. Then I show you the clean architecture approach and then vertical slice. And what you see there is that with vertical slice, you don't need the services anymore. So it is also for me, it seems kind of hard in the beginning because the way of thinking is totally different. You see it here, right? You only have this stuff. You don't have a service. Usually, typical approach like the my .NET 9 CRUD web API video. The video I do actually every time a new .NET version releases is building a web API with .NET and EF Core and stuff. And what you do there, or what I do there, is using services. You create one service with all CRUD operations, right? So reading, creating, updating, deleting, and reading all entities and reading one by ID. And there you use one service. You could also use a repository, but again, there's this debate. When you use EF Core, it is already a repository, so don't do that. Just use the DB context directly in the service. And with vertical slice, the idea is so far, as far as I know, you don't need the services. There are definitely some places where you have, thank you very much for subscribing, Michael. There are definitely places where you want to share code, like a common folder or a shared folder, and then there you would want to maybe use a service. But as far as I understand, in vertical slice, you rarely do that. You have your little slices with like this static class or a folder where you put, the request class, response, the handler, and the endpoint maybe in there. Okay, long answer to a short question. But before I saw another question that would, how different is game dev from web dev? You mentioned it and I was just curious. People, I don't have a lot of time. I could open Unity, show you my project so far. If you want to see that, tell me that anywhere. Reach out and now in the chat or in some comments, I don't know. It is totally different. and there is no short answer to that actually, but the thinking is totally different, the way of thinking, because you have your game loop, the game or the application is running all the time, right? With web development, you have this one state, and well, of course, you can change stuff while the user is not doing anything, but usually the user does something and then the application or the state changes. With game development, you also have states, but you have this game loop, your computer or whatever it is that is currently running this application is drawing and rendering the result all the time. There's where the frames per second come from, right? 30 FPS, 60 FPS, whatever you want to reach. And so you have to pay attention to so much stuff that could happen. Yeah, it's totally different. You have, of course, similar patterns like singletons, for instance, right, that you could use, but you don't have this rather simple approach, let's say, where you have a front end, a back end, and then a database where data is stored, and then you have your web services where data is exchanged, and your user is happy when he or she sees the data. With games, it's so much harder to make games. Yeah, and if you want to know more, maybe I can also do a live stream about game development. Would be great actually to make the game live on stream that I'm currently working on. But I paused it now. I started at the beginning of the year to build another game, a new game. After almost 10 years, I made my indie game 2015, I guess. Yeah, 2015, November 2015. Okay, it was released. Then I stopped, and yeah, there is an itch I want to scratch, but time is an issue. I cannot do everything. Okay, do you recommend using Blazor? I made some tutorials about Blazor. I am not using it so far with any applications. I am more a Redson Blazor guy, but I wouldn't say that Blazor is bad. No, not at all. I just don't have a lot of experience with Blazor. Didn't use it that much. Joseph says, so the normal things you would do with a SPA technology just doesn't work straightforward with Blazor web app. I have yet to successfully use interactive WebAssembly render mode in a normal SSR Blazor. I think you, in your case, you need a different approach. What you want is just a web API in the back end and then a standalone Blazor web app in the front end. Because when you create a new Visual Studio project, then you just create a new project, then what you see here, the Blazor web app typically is the template that I think most of the people use, but you also have this Blazor WebAssembly standalone app, and this came with .NET 8 with introducing the render modes. So what you could do is, also have a video about that, but what you could do is you just create a web API project and then add a Blazor WebAssembly standalone app on top of that. So you have the older, like .NET 7 architecture with the web API and the WebAssembly, a standalone app. You have to add some references there and change a little bit, but then you have your old architecture that you want to use. This is the like the old template. I forgot the name. Well, it's years ago, but there also was this template before with .NET 7 where you had exactly that. You had a web API and Blazor WebAssembly only, and this still works. This, you can still do that, all right, and publish it to Azure or whatever, and then you would have this typical SPA approach, but then you have to use WebAssembly for everything. And that's I think this is what Microsoft doesn't want to push. They want to push the Blazor web app here because it's then the other way around. You start with static server-side rendering, let's say, where you already have the logic and everything you need and want, and I don't know, access the database and stuff. You already have that at the server. nobody can see it really, right? No, there's no JSON Web Token exchange and stuff. You're using tokens then for cookies for authentication. So yeah, things are different in that case. All right. Seamless mixing of server side and client side with technologies like Next.js makes Blazor web app look bad. Nope. Okay, I think we talked about that already. What do you think of Mediator Go commercial? Yeah, we had this at the beginning of the stream. Why not? I don't think it's evil or something. I can understand the move. I never or I don't have my own open source project that I need to support. I've got other stuff that I need to support, like the game, for instance, right? So this is something where you have to find the time. And Jimmy Bogart said in his announcement yesterday that he simply doesn't find that, or he doesn't have the support he got earlier from his company. So it's hard to find or use the free time he got for consulting and making money, and then also using or implementing, supporting the libraries Automapper, because Automapper also will be commercialized, and Mediator. So do both or everything for free in that case. And I can only and I can totally understand that. It is of course unfortunate, but seriously, it's not a I don't know, an evil move or a bad move. It's just how it is. It's hard. We all are struggling, I guess, with stuff we want to do and stuff we need to do to support our families. And for me, it's similar. I make these free tutorials. I also have the academy that supports me. I also have the full-time job. So maybe I will release a game this year to, and hopefully also make a bit of money with that. But I don't like that people directly say, oh, he just wants to make money, or you just want to make money. No, that's not it. It's the days are too short, in particular when you have a family, when you have children. I don't know. I don't want to complain. But still, there's so much to do, and of course there's so much I want to do, but I don't find the time to do everything. So you have to prioritize, and that's, I think, the same thing for Jimmy. So and I think, well, he said he doesn't know what or how this commercialization looks like or will look like, but I can imagine that there will still be a free option, and maybe something like, I don't know, if you make this amount of money, then you have to pay for it. I don't know, some kind of thing. So yeah, these are my 2 cents. Okay, no questions anymore. All right, so let's see if we can actually do something else now. So for the form, we got our model. So wait a sec. Yeah, model is our publication model. All right, and should we add? Well, actually, we don't have any kind of validation so far. Maybe because of the time, we can also leave it. So let me just remove these two. And Copilot suggests something. Title. We don't have a title. We only have a name. And we also don't have a description. Okay, now this is standard stuff, also from the documentations for the Blazor edit form. But what I would like to do, or use later, maybe in another stream then, or whatever I will do, maybe I will implement it behind the scenes and then talk about it. Because what I like about the stream here is that it's more like a discussion, really, because implementing takes way longer, as I know now. Implementing stuff takes a lot longer, so maybe I implement stuff first and then stream and talk about it. Maybe this makes more sense. Could you tell me? Maybe I will create a poll about that. But you could also tell me, please, guys, tell me, would you, for a live streams, if you join my streams, would you like to see writing me the code, or would you like me to see, would you like me to implement features live, and watch me write code, or would you rather see code I have already written and talk about it and maybe change it, refactor it, stuff like that? Hey Bob, nice to see you. It's not an April Fool's joke because it was on April 2nd. The blog post by Jimmy Bogart was on April 2nd, so, and he wrote it there. He not by accident, he decided to publish this post on the 2nd of April so that nobody thinks it is an April Fool's joke. What do you think about .NET Aspire? I haven't tried it before. I know. I know. Sorry about that. Never touched it. That's the thing again about time, right? I want to touch it, try it, but my development approach so far is implement it, publish it to Azure, test it there, if I even want to publish it, because lots of stuff I do just locally, and that's it. You should be an MVP. Thank you very much about that. Thank you. Making Blazor more accessible than Microsoft themselves. Well, thank you. I am not related to Microsoft in any way, so I just like it, and I just want to push it, because then my boss also thinks that Blazor is great, and Microsoft continues implementing Blazor, developing Blazor, so that I can use it as well. So that's great, right? Brian says refactor old code. All right. Watching you write code live sounds much better in my opinion. Okay. But you see, it takes lots of time. Maybe we can find some middle ground there. Okay. What about the streaming time? I know I added the poll in my community tab there. It's not called community tab anymore on YouTube. In the posts tab, where I ask for the time. So I only know the German time zone. So in my case, currently, in my place, it is 5:30 p.m. So maybe you can adapt. Sean also says combination of both, have existing code to refactor and use cases to implement, but maybe have the page created already with to-dos already written. Yeah, that's a good reply, because the boilerplate stuff, right? It would also always be the same. So maybe we should, or I should, prepare this and then directly cut to the chase, to the meat, and see the stuff that maybe not everybody knows. Okay, so let me just check my phone. So far everything is all right. So let me. Should we use this design? I really want to use Tailwind later, so maybe we just make it ugly for now. And remove this. Form control class, button. We have an import text, input text. ID name, bind, value, publication, model name, and the class. And what? I am missing something. I'm confused. Okay. Randy, hi Randy, thank you very much for being a member. I just want to see what people are doing with Blazor and Maui, hybrid Blazor in real world applications. Bob says live coding stream should be a live streaming. So you mean writing code live in the end? Hi Delta Force. It seems that this time here now is better because the chat is more active now. Do you plan to implement flexible authorization in Blazor? What do you mean with flexible? Mean third party like Google, X, LinkedIn, stuff like that? Because yes, I would like to do it. Jesus, that was my phone. Gemini wants to do something. Yeah, Jack, do you mean Google authentication, stuff like that? Or what are you talking about? And Randy, regarding Maui, yes, Maui is also a topic that I definitely should touch on my channel. And, you know, so many say real world applications. What is a real world application for you? Do you mean that in the end you just want to see how to also implement logging and of course authentication, validation, stuff like that? Or what is a real world application? Because in the end, I don't know, every app you're building could lead to a real world application that maybe doesn't need logging, all right? Because it's such a small application, you don't really care about that. Or I don't know how many line of business applications are out there that are real world applications, but maybe don't follow the best practices of real world applications. I don't know. So what is a real world application for you? If AutoMapper and Mediator becomes paid, what should we do? Well, you could pay for it, or you just use an alternative like Mapster. I use Mapster Mapper. It's a great alternative for AutoMapper, I think. And regarding Mediator, well, that's what this stream now is all about, or was about, because I think I have to stop streaming in a couple of minutes. And there are also alternatives. I think there is actually, or Microsoft is working on a built-in solution in .NET. I'm not sure about that, but I think there is something they did, some event stuff they're implementing. Then you've got Wolverine, I think. Never touched it, but this is also an alternative, I heard. So yeah, just look for other stuff. Don't use mappers, Bob says. Writing mapping code is very simple, debuggable, and Copilot can write it very quickly. That's also one way. I mean, Jack, you meant authorize based on permission. Still, you mean roles? Do you mean roles? So authorization in the end. Randy, your answer. Production ready as far as security, load usage, cloud-based. Okay. Now, you see, regarding security, next question, what does have to be, or what does security actually mean for you? Because if it's about authentication and authorization, then you could use some stuff that is already there, right? For instance, on my channel, I created some JSON Web Token tutorials, and I am aware this is custom authentication authorization. This is a custom built system that in the real world maybe you shouldn't really do because it's not battle tested and might be the case that you're missing something there. So for that, you might want to use .NET Identity or Auth0 or I don't know, Firebase or Keycloak or whatever there is. So this is one thing. And regarding .NET Identity, of course, I added it here, so we can totally do this. And then I guess it would already be secure. And tell me what else you're talking about or what you would like to see. Load usage, of course. Thing with load usage is that in that case we would have to test it, right? Simulate testing that, or testing the load, which would be a nice tutorial actually for YouTube as well. And because of the discussion, Blazor server and Blazor WebAssembly, maybe see that, right? So because in essence, Microsoft says, or the world says, the real world says that Blazor server is rather suited for applications with just a few users or not millions of users, and WebAssembly maybe for more users, because with Blazor server, the server has all the load, right? So if there are more users, the server has to handle all the states. And with Blazor WebAssembly, the whole logic is actually just on the client, and we're just exchanging data and requests. Okay. All right. What else you got? Production ready, load users, cloud-based. Yeah, and cloud-based, I mean, Azure, for instance, or Aspire. This is something I should check out, I guess. Don't use mappers, and Mediator isn't that huge of a library and easy to migrate away from. That says Microsoft backtracked last I heard. From what? I mean, thanks for your help. Randy again, sometimes I feel people focus more on what mapper library they are going to use than what security they are going to have in their applications. You also say, I am a huge Blazor fan. I want it to be used and adopted more because writing using only or mostly in C# is a huge production increase. Yeah, I think so too, definitely. It's all libraries and packages nowadays. A lot of devs don't know how to solve problems without them. Those people are also scared of AI. Yeah. Actually, a really good point, because same goes for, yeah, really Mediator in the end, or another package I showed you on YouTube lately was, did I show you this? No, not yet. Next week I will show you this. Members can already see the video. So maybe you want to become a member. Thank you very much. It's Carter. This is a library regarding minimal APIs. Bob, you know what I'm talking about. We talked about that in the last stream. Because what this does is, maybe you know this, in the program CS, when you are building a minimal API, not the traditional controller approach, then you would have to register your endpoints here in the program CS. You can then use extension methods, route groups, and so on, but still you have to register the stuff here, right? And it's actually pretty similar to the issue we had here now. Where is it? There, with this handler, right? What Mediator does, we had this discussion in the chat, I know, and this were great points, that with Mediator, using reflection automatically, let's say, registers all the handlers. In the end, it is looking for classes that are implementing a certain interface and then registering all that behind the scenes, right? And Carter, the Carter library, is doing exactly the same thing for minimal API endpoints. So you implement a certain interface and you register Carter once here in the program CS. And what Carter does is, again, with reflection, it is looking for everything that implements this interface and registers it, so you don't have to register this manually here in the program CS. And this is what someone here said, right? Sean, Octane never touched Octane, so maybe I should do that too. This is why I want to see more videos on how to properly secure your application using the libraries, not third-party services. Great that you're featuring this. Hey, Christina. Now grandma is taking care of the kids, right? Okay, for example, how many people know how to properly implement HTTP-only cookies with JSON Web Tokens alongside with minimal APIs? How about token refreshes? Well, Randy, we got on my channel, there is this, I know, JSON Web Token, custom authorization stuff, but there's this tutorial where I walk you through creating JSON Web Tokens, using authentication, authorization, and everything. I know just in the API, but also with refresh tokens. But you're totally right that that's the issue, right? When you have a client application, you can totally use JSON Web Tokens. But this is also one of the critiques, let's say, many developers have regarding Blazor. What if you use the auto render modes? Or what if you want to use WebAssembly and server with JSON Web Tokens? Well, just use cookies. And you can even use cookies and put your JSON Web Token in there, because cookies work on both client and server. So this is the solution in the end. And yes, this would also make or be a good tutorial. Okay, I hope we got great job, Patrick. I'm a big fan of yours. Thank you very much, Randy. Give props for what you're doing. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Token refreshes are often not discussed indeed, but the idea and implementation is pretty easy. And be aware that .NET does abstract a lot of the way. Cookies are actually more secure than tokens. Yep. That's the one main reason people use BFFs now. What do you mean by BFFs? BFFs, best friends forever? Mapping is easy too. Yes, but you're right. Cookies. That's why again we went full circle actually. With authentication, right? Backend for front end. People use backend for front end. You mean Blazor server for the front end then? Actually, never really heard about that, or never heard this term. Backend for front end. So you mean Blazor server using like the backend of Blazor server for the front end? I'm confused. Sorry, but you're right with cookies. That's what the developer world says, right? And we went full circle really because people said that you should use JSON Web Tokens were the way to go. And now everybody says no, they are not that secure. Use cookies instead. Blazor basically is a BFF. So yeah, maybe you mean that. With Blazor server, right? I mean, for Spa, you have a backend that deals with the tokens and so on. Yeah, but again, either you use like Blazor WebAssembly or any other kind of JavaScript framework for your client, for the front end, or you use cookies. Because, well, the reason for that is that usually you store the JSON Web Token in the local storage or the session storage when you're using this SPA architecture, right? Single page application architecture. And this is what people did for a couple of years, I guess. I did this too. That you have your JSON Web Token inside the browser storage. But nowadays, well, the industry tends to use cookies again and store whatever they are storing there. And the cookies use HTTP only cookies, so you can use them in the client and on the server. And by the way, what .NET is doing, .NET Identity, they also store some kind of token in the cookie, but it is not a JSON Web Token. So maybe if you didn't know that, it's interesting, right? All right. So I am not sure if I am able to continue. And family is coming back in a couple of minutes. Bob, you're right. Lots to read about. Just Google untrusted clients and tokens. Okay. So I guess there's a lot to cover regarding security, right? But Randy, maybe you're still here. Again, regarding security, I'm really curious. Is it mainly about authentication, or what else do you mean? How data is stored in the database, or what is it? Would be really interesting. But of course, I could do some research and then maybe create some tutorials about that or talk about that live or whatever it is. Randy, you say Blazor is awesome. Too bad people are confused that they think it's another Silverlight. Jesus, really? Are we still talking about that? Which of course it is not. No, totally different concept and implementation. Just Google is perhaps the wrong advice, as it can be quite hard. Yeah, of course, ask GPT, right? I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Do your research. Not only Google, not only ask GPT, but do your research. Claude is your friend. Interesting. I should stream later in the day, I guess, because I started too early. Now we get real discussions here, and I'm not really writing any code. So I think, yeah, regarding the coding part, I should prepare something in the future, and then build and discuss. Heck, we still have Java dev saying .NET is Windows only. Yeah, it's true. Well, .NET Framework is kinda, right? So, but well, I cannot ask who's still using .NET Framework, but there. I already told you last time. Not sure if you were there then or joined the stream. I worked for a company that used .cf services, SOAP stuff, when we already had at least Web API 2. So, yeah, there are so many applications out there still using old tech. I also know companies that are still using ASPX applications. And the same company says, hey, you have to change your application because of security issues. So there we are again, Randy. But they use ASPX, the old stuff. Well, that's just business, right? Sky, what's the name? I can't remember. Sky, is your name X Skya Flake? Is it the right pronunciation? Please tell me. You're saying, I like your interaction with your chat, Patrick. Thank you. I did not see a lot of your videos yet, but I subbed, so eventually I'll watch more of your videos. Thank you very much. Keep it up. Thanks. Thank you very much for subscribing. Okay, well, I work on .NET FX with ASMX web forms, VB6 COM object. It's a living. Okay. Respects, Bob. You have my respects. Patrick, do you use Claude GPT regularly when developing? GPT, yes. Claude, no. Yeah, GPT definitely. And I said this before, but if you say real developers don't use AI, I don't know, GPT, Copilot, whatever you name it. I never touched Cursor. Maybe that's something to have a look into, but it is helping, definitely. But what I noticed is that you really have to pay attention regarding your own skills, because there was a time, I have to admit, where I did a lot more with GPT, and I just realized that I don't know if the skills really went, or my skills got worse. But you know, as a developer, you have this specific kind of thinking in your brain, and it's like a muscle, right? It's about consistency. You have to train it. And if you use GPT too much, then you have this case that you know what GPT is doing. You read the code and you can decide, okay, this is a good approach, this is not a good approach, I would change this and that. But then doing something from scratch can get harder, even if you are an experienced developer. So these are just my 2 cents. You really have to pay attention there. I still use GPT most of the time for brainstorming, really. So it's just, I have something in my mind, I prompt GPT and talk to it like a friend or colleague or coworker and say, hey, what do you think about that? And then it might give me some ideas. Also regarding research, sometimes it is nice, but you have to double check. So really also pay attention there. But again, I think it's a great tool, it's a great assistance, but you really, really, really have to pay attention that you don't lose your own skills. It's still important to train that muscle, build something from scratch by yourself, start with it, and always also do the boilerplate stuff, because otherwise you're not independent anymore. You need then these tools, similar to the libraries maybe, like Mediator and stuff. So it's definitely interesting to build stuff like that by yourself, or just, I don't know, map your entities to DTOs by yourself in the handlers in this case. Okay, many new messages. As far as live coding in front of us or pre-made videos, I would suggest pre-made videos for teaching concepts and live coding for viewership feedback. Yeah, that's what I tried to do, but I think I started, Randy, I think I started too early today. So what I see now is, I think that now it's, what is it now? Almost 6 p.m. at my place. Not sure about your place, but I think even 8 p.m., so the evenings would make more sense. Although the concurrent viewers are still the same, but the chat seems to be more engaging now. Chat rate is higher. But anyways, yeah, later maybe makes more sense. So yeah, Christina, if you're still watching, not sure about that, but I will discuss this with her, and maybe we'll find a day in the evenings where I can stream once a week. Great points, thank you, welcome. LLMs will eventually make you a weaker programmer. I'd only recommend it for code suggestions and brainstorming, not for quality, says Skyaflag. Again, I hope I said this right. And I think you're right. This is true. This is what I want, what I meant a few minutes ago, that for brainstorming and stuff, it's great, but the the skills, the hard work. You should really stick to it, do it. I mean, of course, you are much faster with copy pasting and maybe use the code that GPT is producing, use it maybe as a starting point. But again, I noticed it already that if you do this too much, then I don't know, it's not that good for your own skills. And I don't think that everybody's looking for AI prompt engineers, whatever the name is. You still need the skills. Yeah. Regarding the authentication authorization piece, I'd say some additional examples of how to implement things like claims transformation and ensuring that the claim sticks instead of resetting. Okay. Interesting point. And Bob says with Copilot, by the way, you can choose ChatGPT or Claude. How would I do that? Settings. Options. Where can I do this? Tell me. Now I could ask GPT, for instance, tell me where I can do this, but maybe you know this as well. Vibe coding is too hyped. Yes, that's true. I treat AI as a partner with me while I code, but I also question why or what AI is giving me so I can learn. I then tailor what AI gave me. Randy, I'm totally with you. I do the same stuff. It gives me some suggestions, and then I ask again if I understood correctly. But there are moments, let's say, where I'm telling GPT, wait a sec, I thought it actually means this and that, or I thought we actually have to do this first. And that's how the LLM then works, the large language model. And then all of a sudden GPT says, you're right, sorry about that. And yeah, sometimes this is funny and also creepy, because then I'm not sure, okay, what GPT just told me, is this really correct? And this is what I mean by double check it. It's not always the case, of course, but still sometimes these kind of things happen. So it is great to get explanations of the concepts, but you cannot rely only on AI. You cannot rely only on GPT, and I think this won't change in the near future. You still have to take this, try to understand it, but still then research with Google, Stack Overflow, whatever you want to use. Blogs, we have great developers out there who write great blog posts. Books, maybe, I don't know, whatever you want to use. And then you can be sure. And the best thing is to just build this stuff by yourself. But then again, time is an issue, of course. Yep, I like the idea of AI being your co-pilot. Yep, I like that too. Bob, I think you took it too far. I don't think that Skyflake meant it in that way, that IDEs make you weaker. I think it's the way I described it. If you use it too much in a certain way and don't double check and never write code by yourself, then it will definitely make you a weaker programmer, in my opinion. But it's not when you use it for brainstorming, or when you, I don't know. Sometimes what I do is we could do it for the edit form, for instance, here in this project now. It's stuff you might want to know, right? You might want to know how this works, and sometimes it's great to know how to do it from scratch, but it tends to always be the same. And in that case, you could ask GPT, for instance, and say, okay, this is my model. Please create the edit form for me in a Blazor application. And then you can copy and paste it. And there might be something that you don't want there. In our case now, maybe we don't want to use validation for now. I don't know, use another design, use Tailwind, whatever it is. And this is then the stuff that you can change. But these are these moments where you can, similar to a calculator, right? When you want to to make any calculations in your mind, or if you're using the calculator, then it's the same thing. You're training your mind, or you just use the tool, and it's nothing bad about using the tool, but it's also not bad to use your own mind, your fingers, the keyboard, and write the stuff yourself. So you practice and train your muscles, your coding muscles. Regarding AI, if you want to build the chat thingy, right? The new templates. I think it's here. Where is it? Create a new project. Let's see. Nope. AI. Yeah, this one, right? The AI chat web app. And here you can choose the model, get the models and so on. Not sure if you meant that. Anyways, Sean says bye, Sean. I think you already gone. I think developer teaching YouTube channels will be moving more towards teaching concepts, so we know how to work with AI to get the proper AI responses for what we are seeking. Really? I think this will be part of the channels, at least of my channel, but I get the feedback in particular that, or what beginners really like, is that I show you every single step. So really also the boilerplate stuff, that is maybe not good for these live streams, but there are still so many beginners out there, and I like, of course, creating beginner content. And it's not always about beginners, also intermediates or pros tend to forget maybe the boilerplate stuff, the beginner stuff, and why do we have to register this handler here, and when we use mediator we don't have to register it, or really from creating a project with Visual Studio and then building up on this or building on top of this. I think these are tutorials that developers still need. I hope. I want to do them. I want to create them. Vietnam, greetings. No, I mean the Copilot chat window in Visual Studio has a model selector at the bottom. Okay. As I told you, I am not that experienced with open chat window. But here, so GPT 4.0 and 03 mini. That's what I can choose from. Okay. Randy says, basically you have to have conceptual knowledge in order to know properly how to ask AI what you need. Yeah, that's the thing, right? You have to ask the right questions to get answers that will help you. If you don't want to use vibe coding, if you want to use GPT as an assistant, let's say a coworker, a tool, helping you building good apps, let's say, and maybe using better approaches. In that case, then you have to already understand it, and then you can write, and then you can ask the right questions. Open chat. Yep, I did that. There's a drop down at the bottom. That's prompt engineering. Yeah, kinda, I guess. Asking the right questions. That is why developers will never be replaced. We will be elevated, but the expectation to have developer knowledge still exists. Otherwise, you won't be able to evaluate what AI gives you properly. Yes, but there are managers, bosses, you name it, that don't think that way. And they think vibe coding is the future, because with vibe coding, you or the AI can build a complete CRUD application in 1 hour, but they forget that you need probably real developers to fix this application then, or implement change requests in a couple more hours then. So let's see what the future brings. Yep, I'm free. Sorry, should tell you that. I pay for my GitHub Copilot, totally worth it. Is it? Is it really? Should I pay for it? I don't. I can pay for it. Copilot. Would love to, if you really think. But again, not a lot of experience with Copilot so far. Really, I tend to use GPT most of the time, and the only thing I did so far with Copilot are all these suggestions here you see or you saw on stream. So I didn't ask it any questions, or I don't know. I really did not use it. But is it true that Copilot then sees the complete project, knows the complete code, everything? So your entities, your, I don't know, services, or your handlers in that case, and then uses this knowledge to write something else? It's true. You build it in 1 hour and debug it for 3 months. Lol. It's cheaper than hiring another developer by my side. Yeah, but you know, this is the harsh truth. But what happens then if everybody thinks that way? You still need your junior developers. You still have to train other developers. And I think this is where we really have to be careful. We cannot train or teach young developers to work together with Copilot. It's again the same thing with the calculator. When you start learning math, you're not allowed to use your calculator. And I think in the beginning you should also maybe not be allowed to use AI, because I know that's my hard opinion, but I think you won't be able to learn the hard skills of writing code from scratch in that way. If you are a tiny bit more experienced with making web apps, for instance, and then use AI, you still have this foundation, this foundational knowledge, and you can see if the stuff that Copilot, GPT, whatever is giving us, if this is good code, this is not that good code. I always say this to my coworkers and some of the juniors. You develop some kind of feeling. Really sounds strange, maybe, but sometimes you really feel if this is the right code or not. And I think you're missing this when you start learning code with AI, or worse, with AI only. I hope you get what I mean. It's cheaper but more stupid. You won't be able to understand what's happening behind. Yeah, if you are not that experienced. If you are a junior, if you're just learning this stuff, then you really have to be careful. If you're using it to learn concepts, again, if you're using it to learn concepts, then I think can be a good way. But I couldn't imagine studying back then, and if we would have AI, and if we would have been allowed to use AI, Jesus, I don't know if this would turn out good. In particular, if then for the assignments, then if they then say, okay, you have to I don't know, solve this problem on paper or even on a machine, but you're not allowed to use AI, I think then lots of students would not make it. Should do some videos about what, Randy? Where's my phone? Of course, when I learned to code, there was no internet, no Google, no blogs, etc. Yeah. It can help you for sure, but what if you can't solve the problem using AI? Good luck. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Well, then again, you go back to Stack Overflow, Google and stuff, maybe. Because I don't think that AI will leave us, actually. But again, foundations. I think the foundations are important. Maybe some videos teaching people how to use AI alongside their development efforts. Example of how to evaluate and correct AI when it gets it wrong. AI should be a tool for intermediates and seniors. Principles is, guys, if we already are talking about AI, or we can also use Copilot actually, right? Again, no experience with Copilot apart from seeing the suggestions, but let's just see. When I now, where's the solution? Oh, there. When I say we got this entity here, and I use Copilot, now ask Copilot or use add workspace. Let's just say Copilot should create our form now. Could you please, I always use please, you never know, Skynet and stuff, when AI, you know what I mean. Could you please create the, or an edit form for my publication entity that I can use in the create publication form Razor file. Would this work? Could you please create an edit form for my publication entity that I can use in the create publication form Razor file? Now with GPT, of course, I have to paste the model there. The Copilot now says to create an edit form. Jesus, you don't see it right. To create an edit form for the publication entity, we need to include all the properties of the publication class in the form. Here's the updated create publication form Razor file with the complete edit form. Okay, model publication model. This looks correct, I think. Yep, we have the publication model. And for instance, that's what I was saying. Well, that's not bad at all. Maybe we don't need the validation so far. Don't want to use it. So this already, it's great. Don't get me wrong, this is great. But this can be overwhelming for a junior, for a beginner who doesn't know what is this data annotations validator, what is the validation summary. Now, of course, we can ask questions, right? We can ask Copilot, okay, what is this, what is that, and so on. But I like this approach, and this is what I try to do in my tutorials, for instance. Start really, really small, start from scratch, and then explain. Of course, this is not what I want to, or what I did not expect this from Copilot in this particular case. I asked it to give me the form, and it gave me the form, which is great. But if a beginner starts that way, and a beginner could ask probably the same question, I need a form for the publication entity, something like that maybe, and then we get the form. But again, if the beginner stops there and says, okay, I just copy and paste it and it works, this is amazing, not so good. But if the beginner then says, okay, this is interesting, now please tell me what exactly is this edit form doing? What is the model property here? What is onValid submit? What is this? Is this an event? What the hell is this? What are all the other components? And so on. This is great, but of course, it's not the fault of AI in this particular case, right? So you just have to rely on the person who's trying to learn to code in the end. And this is probably also hard to test with remote assignments, remote tests, or something like that, right? So yeah, I think this is where maybe live interviews come into place, right? Even remote live interviews where you may see that someone is using another screen, or I don't know. So I missed something in the chat. It can help you for sure. Maybe some videos. When AI sends you down the wrong rabbit hole and you have to scrap your code. Yeah. How can you correct AI when you don't know what is wrong? It's true. Gotta go. Goodbye, Bob. See you next time, I hope. Have a great night too. My point about learning about security, like I said, yeah. No worries, Randy. This is great talking to everybody. All right, Joseph, thank you. Goodbye. But I think I have to go too. I mean, we're already streaming like 2.5 hours and we didn't get far. This is something I learned. When I want to build an application from scratch, then doing it live on stream, maybe not the best idea. I should prepare this and then talk about this while doing that. So I think I will continue doing that in the evening, and maybe I will try it with Copilot. Because let's just copy and paste this for everybody who's still there. Let me just blindly, or maybe just copy the whole thing. And I assume it would work. What's Copilot saying here? Changes made, edit all properties. Used appropriate input components. All right. Data annotations valid. Yep. Handle valid submit method to handle form submissions. This form can now be used in the file to create or edit publication entity. How can I implement validation for the fields in the edit form? It suggests other prompts. That's interesting. I will try that. How much is Copilot? And what's the difference? That's interesting for me. What's the difference to the free version now when I pay for it? Is it simply changing the model, or is it better in any way? Copilot agent. What's Copilot agent? Again, I have no idea about Copilot. All right, anyways. Let's see. Oh, we can there's the copy button. We can preview it. Open the refinement experience sensor. Preview. Preview doesn't work. Okay, I changed it already, so maybe that's the reason why. Okay, let me just see. Nope, we don't have the page. We still need the page. Raise a component. Let's call this create publication razor create publication. All right, and here we have the create publication form. Add the reference. Okay. And I'd say random mode interactive server. What else we need? Maybe a button in the navigation. So layout, nav menu. Here now. Create publication, something like that. Okay, let's see. Paid version gives you early features as well as more requests. So the number of requests is limited then in the free version, I guess. Okay. Where's our app? There's our app. Create publication. All right, there's the form. It's already great, of course. So users can add this, but then again we need the handler. So let's try this again with Copilot maybe. So here now in the form, isn't there a way to also use a comment, and with the comment then Copilot says or gives a suggestion? Otherwise, of course, we can say, could you please implement? You don't see that. Wait, can I? Let me put this. Can't move it. I would like to move it here. Okay, that's better. Could you please implement the handle valid submit method by using the create publication handler. Thinking. To implement the handle valid submit method using the handler, we need to inject the handler into the create publication form Blazor component and call the handle async method when the form is submitted. Here is the updated create publication form Blazor. Jesus. It is good. It is really good. But let's see. What about the... okay, what did it change? Injected the create publication handler into the component, created a create publication request object in the handle valid submit methods, called the handle async method of the handler with the request object, added a placeholder comment to handle the response. Navigate to another page. Okay, let's say, please, at the end, after submitting, navigate to the publication overview. To navigate to the publications overview after form submission, we need to inject the navigation manager and use it to navigate to the appropriate route. Here is the updated file, and that's it. Let's hit preview, there. Now it's working. And it's hard to read, of course. Okay. All right. Handle async requests and navigate back. Let's just accept that and see if this works. Copilot edit and agent, I believe, are the only ways for Copilot to directly edit your code. And yes, doing a comment will suggest code like what you showed in your previous videos. Ah, yeah, okay. Got it. And we have an error. Request matched multiple endpoints. I see. Why did it add this? Browser, where are you? Can provide a value for property, create publication handler. Yeah, it's not registered, right? Okay, so now we could continue with asking, or let's just try that. So I could just register it in the program CS, similar to the first handler, but let's just play around with Copilot so far, for now. Unfortunately, I get this error. Think of it as tiers of involvement during code. Comment for immediate code suggestions, edit for blocks of code creation or refactoring blocks, agent for complete solution, multi-file edits. All right. To resolve the error, we need to register the create publication handler as a service in the dependency injection container. Here is the updated program CS file with the necessary registration. Okay. So it got this right. So now I can really copy this. But still, I think the difference now is that, or difference to vibe coding, let's say, is that, well, first the page directive, and the other thing now is that I don't just copy and paste the whole file, because as I understand, if I understand correctly, then vibe coding is really just that you copy and paste all the time. But here now, we are just lazy and copy only this one line that we need. But again, thing is, if you do this too often, then it might be the case that you don't train your skills, right? Okay, so we got this. Let's just use test in this case. Hit create. Error 404 publications overview. See, something is not right here. This is funny, and this is a great example, because Copilot said, well, you want to go back to the publications overview page, right? But actually, there's not that route. There is no publications overview route. So if you, for instance, do this now, copy and pasting for quite some time, and then afterwards you have to fix all these errors. So it's really, I don't know, it's some kind of ping pong, some kind of bouncing back and forth. Then, so if you use AI in that particular case, you saw the result that you really have to pay attention here. And this is just a tiny error, but in the end it worked, and this is nice. Okay, well, lots and lots of the a lot of to think about, lots of stuff to think about. This is what I wanted to say after almost 3 hours of streaming. So thank you very much, guys. I think I have to stop now, and again, I will I will publish the replay. Please tell me under the comments if you want me to continue with this particular app, change stuff. I need your feedback, what you think about all the live streams here, and what to do in the lives. Yeah, you know what I mean. So thank you so much for joining. This was great, but now I think I have to focus, do my own vibe coding by putting on some music and getting into the vibe, and focus and write some code. This is my vibe coding. So I hope I see you guys next time. Happy coding, and take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for hanging out, you made it to the end. We coded up some magic like a trusted techie friend. From APIs to components, we made it shine. With .NET and Blazor, we're feeling just fine. So like, comment, and hit subscribe. Keep the dev dream alive. Next time we'll build even more. Clean code, smooth vibes, and features galore. .NET is the way, and Blazor's here to stay. See you next time, now don't delay. Become a member, join the ride. Support the channel, feel that pride. Or dive deeper with the fam and me inside the .NET Web Academy. Like, comment, and subscribe. It's the code life we vibe. With Blazor in our hands, we're taking that ride. Check the link, go take a peek. More dev magic every week. Thanks for watching, you're the best. Now go take that dev quest. Till next time, keep blazing, no rest. Like, comment, and subscribe. It's the code life we vibe. With Blazor in our hands, we're taking that ride. Check the link, go take a peek. More dev magic every week. Thanks for watching, you're the best. Now go take that dev quest. Till next time, keep blazing, no rest.